Hello everybody, what we're doing today is we are unboxing the G4 Pro controller from Gamesir. Yes, this is a retail box that I bought myself. I did ask China for one for free, but they said no. They took a look at my subscriber count and then laughed wildly. So this is the back of the box here, this is the left of the box, and it's got words on it and stuff. And here's the front of the box. Again, we're gonna go ahead and try taking it out. There is a big old slip cover on the top. It's just held together by some tape on the bottom. Let's go ahead and see if we can get rid of that. And yes, it cuts. The outer shell of it seems to have a firm grip on the inside part. But it does come out eventually with a little bit of know-how and trial and error. There we go. And we have a box within a shell. I'd say a box within a box. I really desperately want to. And the controller just kinda greets us immediately. Ooh, oh. It does have those little plastic guards on top of the analog sticks like you've seen in other videos. And the form-fitting paper mold that's around the controller also has a tight grip on the controller itself. Everything here seems to be kinda grippy. Let's take off the plastic guard off the buttons. And as we can see, it's generally shaped to mimic an Xbox One controller. Put the controller aside. Now let's see what else is in this box. What's hidden underneath the mold? Oh, some documentation and a cable. This controller does use USB-C, but fear not, it's only the controller side that's USB-C on this cable. The included cable does connect to USB old. USB not C. This is our little clippy clip we can put on the controller to better hold your tablet or phone. And here's a small little pamphlet for other Gamesir products, and a little tab so that we know this has been inspected by China's finest quality control people. And this little brochure for Gamesir just gives us a nice little QR code on the back of it, and it's just a nice little thank you. Thank you for using our product. You're welcome, Gamesir. Oh, dear customer, they wrote us a letter. How nice. And now we have a user manual for the G4 Pro. Gives us all the documentation we need to get started. And some diagrams. I always love diagrams. And just like any major peripheral manufacturer, we get stickers. So you can put a Gamesir sticker on the back of your phone. So here's the controller itself again. And there's a little clip that flips up to contain your Android device. Whatever can fit in there, probably not a tablet. This is as far as it extends, so we can put our clip right here. It's better really just to slide it over the top. That way the little clip will last as long as possible, but it does seem like a sturdy piece regardless, so you probably don't have to worry about it breaking. In order to connect to an Android device, we hold down the Gamesir and A buttons. The first time I connected my Samsung Galaxy S9 to the Gamesir G4 Pro, it probably took about a minute and a half just to find the controller, but after that, it was almost instantaneous. So here we are playing Goat Simulator, which I already have preloaded on my Samsung Galaxy S9 phone. Getting drug around by a car now, which is all kinds of good and wonderful, but the controller itself does allow us to move around the game world with ease, and the controls are very intuitive. It's just like on the PC. Let's go ahead and give it a nice little test for the lag. And it's not perfect. Of course, it is a Bluetooth controller, so whenever you're dealing with Bluetooth, there is always going to be a little bit of lag. But when we're playing native Android games like Goat Simulator here, the only kind of input lag we have to worry about is the Bluetooth lag itself. It's a little bit more complicated with emulators, where every emulator has some kind of input lag just natively, because you're translating not only the inputs to the game, but also the inputs to the console emulation and then to the game. And we'll dive into some emulated games in a different video. I don't want this one to be demonetized. Now let's boot up Grand Theft Auto 3 on my Samsung Galaxy S phone. We're going to play with the G4 Pro instead of the touchscreen, and right away I can say that this is a fantastic improvement over using just the touchscreen controls themselves. Of course, this isn't the best test of the analog capabilities of the sticks. If you guys have even played the PC version, making minute corrections to your steering angle is a bit of a chore, and it's the same deal on the Android version of the game as well. Let's go ahead and move on to some PC gameplay now. We'll start our PC gameplay test with Geometry Wars, which is not ironic at all because Geometry Wars actually got its start as a controller test for a Forza Motorsport game on the Xbox. And I can tell you right now, this is a one-to-one, apples-to-apples comparison to the Xbox One controller. The sticks feel very, very similar, if not the exact same. The placement of them is very similar, if not the exact same. And it is a definite improvement over, say, the Logitech F310 controller that I used in previous videos, which is a PlayStation-styled controller. And if you're concerned about your PC gaming having any sort of lag compared to the Xbox One controller, I can tell you this: no, there is no lag at all. At least not any more lag than the Xbox One controller itself. It's a very, very smooth experience, and it plugs straight into the PC using the cable that it comes with, and it detects as an Xbox controller. So the Gamesir button that's in the middle of the controller serves the same function as the Xbox controller, and it opens up the Xbox game bar if you'll let it. Hollow Knight is another great game to test out on the PC, especially since it didn't immediately recognize my G4 Pro controller. It does immediately recognize the Xbox One controller, but not the G4 Pro. But not to fear, there is a beta input recognition protocol you can enable in your settings that will immediately recognize the G4 Pro and correctly map all of the functions of the controller to the gameplay itself. But Hollow Knight serves as an excellent test of the D-pad. Now, the Xbox One controller's D-pad is a D-pad in and of itself. It doesn't have the little circular apparatus that surrounds it, so this is a good opportunity to make sure when we play Hollow Knight that that circular underlying form to the D-pad doesn't get in our way and that we accidentally press our down left, down right, or up left and up right inputs when in fact we did not want to. And I can confirm that no, it doesn't get in your way at all. And I'm not a big fan of the D-pad itself, but I can't complain about it either. Before we start a race in Forza Motorsport 7, I think it's important to note that I don't like to play with the G4 Pro in its natural lying state on the PC. It's always best to flip the little holder up when you're using the controller, period. Otherwise, your thumb, when you're trying to utilize the D-pad, it impacts that little hump that sits in the middle of the controller. It's very uncomfortable and very unsettling, and it can get away of the inputs with not only the D-pad on the left, but also the start button on the right. And it's just kind of uncomfortable, so whenever I'm playing games on the PC, I always flip the little holder carrier thingy up. Forza Motorsport 7 is, of course, an excellent test of the analog triggers to see how well those work and how they feel compared to the Xbox One controller. And how the analog triggers directly compare to the Xbox One controller is they're a lot easier to press down. But they do make some noises when you're pressing them down. I don't know how better to describe it. They creak a little bit, which means that they're probably going to wear out much sooner than an Xbox One controller, which after using for about a year, my more common Xbox controller that I use still doesn't creak at all on the analog triggers. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that's kind of concerning as for longevity of the controller itself. But other than that, the triggers feel very good and they're comfortable to boot. This has been an unboxing and quick field test of the Gamesir G4 Pro controller here on the Game Train. We're going to have more content coming up for you here real soon, so be sure you're liking and subscribing. Yes. Thanks for watching, and you guys, have a good night.